Well, Merry Christmas. It is really good to celebrate with you, and I am so glad that you're here. And I'm actually really excited that the kids are here with us because, if you don't know me, I'm really famous for not even dad level quality jokes. And so, but I got a joke for kids, and I got a joke that kids you're going to want to tell later to your parents or grandparents or somebody else. So kind of tune in for just a second. All right, it's a simple question. It's a simple idea. Why is the letter E in the alphabet the only letter that's going to get Christmas presents this year? Because all of the rest of the letters are not E. Not E. Yeah. Oh, right. I told you it wasn't even a dad joke. I told you. When we get ready to celebrate Christmas, there's all kinds of things. And I was kind of curious, and I started looking, there's actually some really cool traditions all over the world. And some of them are kind of strange, to be honest with you. And I found out in Japan, 4 million households, that's a lot of people, are going to sit down to a Christmas dinner of KFC chicken. KFC chicken is considered a traditional Christmas dinner in Japan. People order months ahead to get KFC chicken on Christmas Day, which is odd to me, but hey, more power to you. In Greenland, tomorrow morning, Christmas morning, when they wake up, the households that have planned for this are going to sit down and share a piece of mattak with each other, which sounds kind of cool until you find out that, no, mattak is gross. It's raw whale skin, but considered a delicacy, and that's how they like to celebrate Christmas. My favorite one was probably Venezuela, because in Venezuela, on the 24th, today, they will actually close all of the streets, especially in smaller towns, so that families can roller skate together to church to worship on Christmas Eve, which I thought was pretty cool. I like that idea. I don't know how they make sure nobody gets hurt, but roller skating to church on Christmas Eve sounds pretty cool. Now, you live here in America, and my guess is that you're going to celebrate Christmas, and one of the things you probably did was you decorated with a Christmas tree, which is really, really cool. We use them everywhere, and it reminds me of my last bad joke. What did the happy tree say to the grumpy tree? You need to lighten up, man. I know. I promise that's the last one. Christmas, we love it. We want to have those special moments with our family, with just those opportunities where something unique, something special happens that we can remember and really latch onto. And sometimes we even try to recreate moments that have happened in the past. And so, for me personally, I've got a tradition, and I'm going to do it again tonight. I try to wait and outlast everybody, which is getting harder and harder to do. But once everybody goes to bed, I turn off all the lights in the house, I light up the Christmas tree, I sit down in front of it, and I eat cookies or fudge or whatever I can find. I listen to Christmas music, and as I sit there, I really am only trying to do two things. I take a few minutes and thank God for the great things that happened this year. And I pray and look forward to what are the great things that might happen next year. And it's really a great moment for me. I've done it for years, almost every single year as an adult, and I look forward to it every year. It is a great moment, but eventually, I'll go to sleep tonight. And when I wake up the next day, it'll be Christmas and there'll be more moments, but that moment will be gone. It's already over. And that kind of pokes at something that we're going to talk about today, is that idea that great moments, even if they are truly great, they don't last unless they're rooted in something meaningful. There has to be some meaning connected to it, or it's just another moment. Now, we lit up our Christmas tree, and one of the things that seems to be universal in every part of the world when it comes to Christmas is when we celebrate Christmas, it involves lights usually. It could be lights on a house, it could be lights on a tree, it could be very, very basic and just a candlelight, but lights have connected to Christmas for a long time, and I think it's because of what John wrote many, many years ago about the very first Christmas. You see, John was one of Jesus' earliest followers. And while Matthew and Luke wrote about Jesus' birth, and they told us a lot of the details, which were great, about shepherds and angels and traveling and all of that, John instead wrote about Jesus' birth, but he didn't talk about all the what things happened. He talked about the why it happened. And it really is insightful because John compared Jesus' birth. He said it's almost as if a very bright light was turned on in a dark room. And all of a sudden, everybody could see. And some of the difficulty and the danger and all the things that go along with life became a lot clearer when Jesus was born. But he goes on and says, it's not just that the light took away the darkness. The light was so powerful that it could actually change lives, which is interesting and intriguing, but at the same time, a little tough to, how does light change a life? And so what I want to do, if you have a Bible, you're more than welcome to follow along. In John chapter 1, he talks about this, and we're not going to be able to read everything that John said about it, but he says something very interesting in verse 9. He's talking about Jesus, and he's talking about Christmas, and the very first Christmas when Jesus was born, and he says it this way: the true light, he's talking about Jesus, that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He, again, talking about Jesus, was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of God. Children born not of natural descent or of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. You see, for John, Christmas was rooted in meaning. Everything about Christmas was very meaningful, and he used this analogy of light and dark to try to draw it out and help us understand it. And so he says the true light, Jesus, comes into the world, and this is something that's always kind of fascinated me. Jesus leaves his home in heaven and comes to us, comes for us, and invites us to be at home with him, which is amazing. Jesus, the one who created us, the one who loves us, the one who has a plan for us. And yet, many people didn't even recognize him and didn't receive him. And it's just kind of this mystery. How does that happen? And I think, for me anyway, what's really important about that is it reminds us of a truth, that Christmas does something to all of us. It started at Jesus' birth, which we celebrated over 2,000 years ago, and we still celebrate it today. Christmas makes us all homesick. And I know homesick sounds like kind of a strange word. Christmas makes us homesick. Are you talking about the Hallmark movie? Are you talking about that desire to go home and be at home and be with your family? Well, yes, but it's actually more than that. There's something about Christmas that kind of can leave us with an ache. That maybe homesick isn't the best word, I don't know, but homesick comes pretty close to describing that feeling. For some of you, whether it's tonight or tomorrow night, you're going to finally collapse on the couch. After the kids have gone to bed, all the presents have been opened, all the food has been eaten, and you have stacked up incredible moment after incredible moment. And as you sit on the couch, half asleep, you might have a question. It says, is that it? Like, we did all the stuff. We had so much fun. Is that all there is to this? All the things we did, all the money we spent, all the plans we made, all the arrangements, and it's over because all the moments are over. Is there anything else? That's what I mean when I say that Christmas makes us homesick, that ache that we feel. Because unfortunately, for a lot of us, we've kind of reduced life down to trying to stack moments. Like, if I can just keep stacking moments, that's where my life will finally feel good. And the truth of the matter is, it's only when you find meaning that life begins to make sense. Because a life of moments feels different. A life of moments feels like a treadmill. It really does. It feels like it's just ongoing. And you guys are smart people. You're accomplished. You do wonderful things. I'm sure that you're talented, you're wise, you know, all the things. And you can stack up moments like nobody's business. And some of them are small, right? Some of them are, hey, we finally got the good Christmas picture of the family, and we got it posted before Christmas was over, and eventually it disappears into the ethernet of social media. But we got that moment, and we got that done. And sometimes it's a little more. You know, sometimes you feel really good because I got the carpool for the kids figured out for all of the rest of the school year. I mean, I can pick up and drop off, and it's finally figured out, and that feels like a win. That's a big moment. And sometimes they're actually really big moments. Like, you get promoted at work, finally. They finally recognize your ability and your talent and your hard work and all those things. But once those moments are over, pretty soon it's going to be a new day or a new week or a new month, and the moments fade. And maybe the worst part about it is it feels like you've got to start stacking up moments again. Like, you did them all, and you got all the stuff, and everything worked, and then I got to prove myself all over again. I got to start stacking moments all over again, and it's enough. It's enough to leave you feeling a little anxious, maybe even a little numb and overwhelmed, because you stacked up the moments. There doesn't seem to be any meaning to it. That's what a life of moments ultimately feels like. But a life of meaning is different. A life of meaning feels like winning. It feels like winning, and it is different. I mean, it's different on the inside. Now, the outside of your life, that looks a lot the same. But on the inside, it feels different because it is different. You still have a big, long to-do list, don't get me wrong. But you also know you have an identity, and you know who you are. And there is a mission and a purpose to your life. You still have bills to pay, maybe too many bills to pay, but you also know that you're not on your own. That you belong to God and you belong to his family, and that changes things. And it's not just the to-do list, and it's not just the bills. You got the busy calendar, maybe too many things on it. Maybe you're trying to get to too many places and too many things, and priorities are getting out of whack. But when you've got a life of meaning, you don't have to prove yourself with the calendar to yourself, to your kids, or to anybody else. You see, that's what I'm talking about when I say Christmas makes us homesick. And it's not homesick for more moments, and there's nothing wrong with a good moment. I love a good moment. But without meaning, they start to feel kind of empty. Feels like you're living in the shadows a little bit. One of the things we've talked about here, even if you haven't been with us, over the last month, this idea of being homesick. And we've said very simply, and I know it sounds too simple, but we've said if you feel homesick, there's an easy answer. You should come home. If you feel homesick, if you feel that gnawing, if you're tired of chasing moments and not having any meaning, then you should come home. And that's what John is talking about. He says when Christ was born, it was a light that shined in. And it was a light that changed not only the moment, but it gave meaning where nothing else had. And Jesus comes along and he helps us make some trades. He brings life where things on the inside were dead before. And he allows us to kind of make a few exchanges. He says you can exchange that empty feeling and doom scrolling for hope. That just feels different. You can make that trade. You can trade the idea and the feeling of loneliness and trying to find approval for a sense of belonging and knowing that there are people that love you and there's a God who loves you. You can trade that sense of, I have to keep proving myself and I'm living on that treadmill. You can trade that for the knowledge that you're a child of God. That's why what John said was so important. That's why Christmas is so meaningful. The moments are great, but the meaning is where things begin to change. One of the things that I get the privilege of is hearing people's stories. And I love to hear stories of people's lives and what's happened to them and where they've been and where they're going and what God's been doing in their life. And recently I got to hear Jackie's story, and I want to share it with you. But Jackie was just like a lot of us. Jackie's had a lot of moments in her life. And you maybe could even argue that she's had more than her fair share of hard moments. But for Jackie, the lights turned on. And she found meaning, and she came home to Jesus, and it changed everything about her life, her sense of belonging, her sense of purpose. And I just want you to hear the difference that Jesus made in Jackie's life. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and I wanted to share my story. I grew up in the Phoenix area. My childhood was difficult. I have trauma tied to abuse that I experienced as a young child. That trauma has caused a lot of emotional issues for me. I often struggle with fear, anxiety, low self-worth, and loneliness. I have experienced a lot of loss in my life as well, which has added to my emotional struggles. I tend to cope by trying to control my life. Having controlling tendencies pushed people away from me, which brings back feelings of fear, anxiety, low self-worth, and feelings of being alone. It's a vicious cycle that I work to break every single day. In 2016, I met and married my husband, Tim. With him enlisted in the military, we ended up spending the first year of our marriage apart, living in 2 different countries. This year was extremely rough for us and almost ended in divorce. After the first year, we moved across the country together to his next duty station. With our marriage in shambles, we knew we needed help, so we both started attending church regularly. I've since worked hard to let go and hand my life over to Christ. In 2019, I joined the Celebrate Recovery ministry, which has helped a lot. I've met so many amazing people with testimonies that have inspired me to continue my journey. While living in New Mexico, we welcomed our son, Gabe. Gabe was born non-responsive with brain swelling. The first year of life was spent regularly in and out of doctors' offices in New Mexico and Texas. With limited access to the specialized medical care we needed, Tim and I decided that a move back to Phoenix would be in our best interest. Gabe and I moved from New Mexico to our Arizona home while Tim stayed behind, continuing to work in New Mexico. We were hopeful that Tim would quickly find work locally. Little did we know that it would take him 2 years to find a job and move home. Raising a 2-year-old with my husband in another state was often overwhelming. I frequently felt isolated and alone. I felt I needed to find a new church nearby. My neighbors happened to be longtime members of Mountain Ridge Church and invited me to attend. My first time attending Mountain Ridge was almost 2 years ago. I remember the smiles and warm family-like welcoming I was greeted with in the child care center. Kathy gave me a great big hug and chatted with me when I first walked in. I felt so welcomed. She immediately offered support when she heard about my situation, and this meant the world to me. The following week, Gabe and I attended our first Tot Town. We were greeted once again with smiles and a warm family-like welcoming. I attended Sunday services regularly, with hugs, friendly hellos, and strangers showing genuine interest in me at every service. I began to feel at home. On one Sunday, Pastor Brett spoke about the power of serving, so I decided to volunteer my time in the Tot Town ministry. Our Monday mornings have since been filled with friends and a lot of fun times. I began attending the Wednesday morning women's Bible study. I cannot express enough how grateful I am for the women in this ministry and the genuine love and support they have shown me through tough and lonely times. I later joined the Arena's small group. Our Monday nights have since been filled with good food, Bible study, friendship, and prayer. This group has been such a blessing to my family and I. It's not just a group, but a family that welcomes us as we are with open arms. The sense of acceptance and community I have experienced here at Mountain Ridge has made such an impact on my family and I. When I was in need, you were all there. From friendly greetings, smiles, and hugs, to meal trains and dinner invites, to help with childcare and the countless hours spent listening and supporting me. Thank you for being there when I needed you. I have found a home here.
Such an amazing story, and what's even more amazing about it is it can be your story too. You see, Christmas is coming, and it is going to be filled with great moments, and I hope you have more moments than you can count. But I want to give you one other thing to think about tonight. Maybe you need to reach behind the moments, and reach behind the moment today for meaning. Not just another moment, but something meaningful. Because, and you know this, and I know it's a little dark, but when you look around, you realize something. God's not just trying to polish up the world a little bit, that things are actually broken. It doesn't take long watching the news or looking at something and realizing, yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be this way. I don't think life is supposed to be like that. I don't think we're supposed to treat each other that way. And if you're thinking about the people that you know, there's probably somebody in your life that you kind of look at them, and not in a judgmental way, but as you think about them and you think about their life and where they've been, you kind of would almost have to say, yeah, I think there's some broken things in them too. And if you were to be completely honest, when you look in the mirror, you might say, you know, there's some broken things in that person too. Because we live in a broken world. And that's why Christmas is so meaningful. Jesus will not only come and shine a light in your life, but he will bring you home to be with him, not just for eternity, but a change that starts today. That's why we still celebrate Christmas 2,000 years later. It's not the gifts and the tree and the decorations and the sales and all that stuff. It's because of what Jesus has done for us. And you can actually live that life. You don't have to continue to live a life of chasing moments. You can actually live a life of meaning. And it happens in a pretty straightforward way. And I'm going to throw a bunch of words at you, but I want to take a minute and just explain each one. But it is receiving, believing, and following that brings meaning. That's how you get to meaning. And like I said, I know that's a lot of words, but it's pretty straightforward. The receiving is as basic as it gets. Just like you're going to receive some Christmas gifts and open them up and be glad to get them. It's receiving Jesus and recognizing he came for you. Not you, the crowd, but you, the individual even. He came for you, and you simply receive that and are thankful. Jesus, thank you that you came for me. Believing is understanding that his death and his resurrection, that his sacrifice on my behalf, it takes away my sin, my guilt, my shame, all the extra stuff that I carry, and I believe that he did that and that it counts for me, that he did that on my behalf. So he came for me. He also died for me. And then the following, which I got to be honest with you, this is the most relieving part. Because for some of you, you're so overwhelmed. You've been living on that treadmill. The idea of letting Jesus lead sounds so good. Like, you be in charge. You set the agenda. I don't need to figure that out myself. I'm going to let you, Jesus, be the one that sets the agenda for my life. And when I receive him and I believe in him and I follow him, that brings me a life of meaning. I find that I am home. I belong. I belong to God and I belong to God's family. And it's available to you. Like I said, that's why we celebrate Christmas. Now, there's two stories in this room. And I've lived them both, so there's no guilt around either one. One story is a life that is chasing those moments. And you may be really good at it. You may be able to check all the boxes like nobody's business. You can accomplish things far, far ahead of anybody else. But for some reason, even with all the accomplishments, the peace and belonging that you're looking for never seems to last past the moment. And it feels like you got to start all over again. But there's another story, and many of you have found this story to be true too. There is a life of meaning. And while there are still hard things that come, there are still questions that you have. That life of meaning has brought you a sense of peace and belonging that you maybe can't even quite explain, but you know that it's real. And the reality is that can be your story. No matter what your story has been before, that can be your story today. Now, in a couple of days, or maybe depending on how motivated you are, in a couple of weeks, the Christmas decorations are going to come down. You're going to pull them down. You're going to put them away. You're going to turn off the lights on the tree, pull off all the decorations, put it in the storage space, and Christmas will be over. The lights are out. The season's done. But you can actually live as though the lights are on year-round. And I know that seems a little strange. What does lights on year-round living look like? We've been describing it all night, but it does look and feel different. When you walk into work as a child of God, when you parent out of security, not out of fear, when you look at January and you don't look at it with dread, you look at it with hope. That's what it looks like to live with the lights on year-round. That is the meaning behind all the moments of Christmas. And that's what I want for you. And I'd like to ask you to do me one more favor. Would you take a moment and pray with me? I want to invite you to just close your eyes and bow your head, and let's take a moment to pray together. And I know for some of you, as I've talked about this, you've said, you know what, that is me. I have been chasing moments, and I've been looking for meaning. I want to give you maybe a sample prayer that you could pray, that if you're not sure what words to use, that these would be the words that help you connect with God as we get ready to celebrate Christmas. Very simply, God, I don't want another moment. I want a life of meaning. I realize that Jesus is the true light and I need him. Jesus, I open my heart to you and I receive you as the one who gives me life. I believe in your name, that you died for my sins, that you rose again to give me new life, and that you want me to be part of your family. From this moment on, I trust you. Thank you for giving me the right to become a child of God. Thank you for bringing me home. And before you open your eyes, for some of you You've known meaning, but for whatever reason, lately your life has looked more like chasing moments. I would like to pray for you as well, and maybe you would echo the same prayer. Father, help me not to chase the moments. I want to live with meaning. Help me and send me to the place I work, the school I go to, and the home I live in to show the light of Christ the way he's shown it to me. And we ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I want to invite you to stand as we continue to celebrate and worship together.